We've got the Bengals at the Ravens, fresh off a TNF win. They're 3.5-point dogs. They're 3-point dogs. Cowboys at Rams. They're on the losing side of Monday Night Football to their divisional rival, the Niners. And you've got the Steelers at the Bills. And with that, let's welcome in data scientist Mike McClure, or as I like to call him, Big Money Mike, after he split the DraftKings Millionaire Maker last night with 232 of his closest friends, alongside with NFL analyst and the czar of the playbook, Emory Hunt, to help us get a head start on some Week 5 NFL leans. So let's start with the AFC North. And Joey B, him and the Bengals are headed to the Bengals are headed to Baltimore, and they are catching 3 points. So far this season, road dogs have been profitable for bettors, covering at 63%. Mike, are you fading or following this trend for the Bengals at the Ravens?
I'm going to be fading the trend on the road dogs here in prime time. I like this home team here. It's a difficult spot to go win a football game in prime time. Emotional spot here for the Ravens, the way things went down last week. They've lost 2 football games this year, and they trailed for a combined total of 14 seconds in the 2 games that they lost. That does not sit well. On the other side, though, for the Bengals, I've seen far too much Joe Mixon for how inefficient he's been. They've stubbornly continued to try to feed Joe Mixon. If it weren't for their incredible success on third down, which may or may not be sustainable, this team would look a heck of a lot worse here. I love Lamar Jackson in this highly motivated spot. I think the home field advantage is a little too much. I make this game up to 4.3 in my simulations. I think it moves to 3.5. So I would play this now because that's where the look-ahead line was, and that's where I think it closes.
Yeah, I'm going to lay these points to Baltimore. I feel like this is a get-back game for the Ravens based off how well the Bengals spanked them last season. I feel like when you look, especially at home, we know the Jamar Chase catch, and he broke every Ravens tackle en route to the end zone. So I feel like with that being the backdrop, plus what happened last week in Baltimore and the torrential downpour, I feel like the Ravens are kind of in a must-win mode right now, even though they're sitting at 2-2. And this is a big game. Their 2 collapses have been against AFC teams, and we know come playoff time, those losses will matter. That's the difference between a number 1 seed or a number 3 seed, or playing on the road or playing at home. They're going to go all out in this one. I'm going to lay those points with Baltimore.
The Cowboys riding in hot to SoFi Stadium this Sunday to take on the Rams. Dallas won 5 straight road games, covering in every one, mind you, while the Rams lost on Monday night. So a short week to bounce back really might do them well. All eyes have been on Cooper Rush, but in this game, it might be a matchup of the best edge rusher versus the best interior pass rusher in the NFL. I'm talking Aaron Donald, Micah Parsons, but LA is a 4.5 home favorite, total 43 and a hook. Emory, what's your lean here?
If anything, I may lean the under, but I'm going to take the Cowboys in the points here. I can't trust Matt Stafford. And as much as they won the Super Bowl last year, and everyone talks about, well, Stafford was just being wronged in Detroit. No, if homeboy from San Francisco catches that interception, the 49ers go to the Super Bowl and not the Rams. So I feel like this defense for the Cowboys will be able to find some success. They will definitely cash Katie Mox's consistent Stafford interception prop because they don't drop picks over there, with Dallas. So I like the Cowboys in this spot. This will be a very close game. I may even sprinkle some on the money line. So I'm taking the Cowboys in the points.
I like the Cowboys too in the game, but I'm going to attack the total here, and I'm actually going over the 43.5. Look, the market opened this thing at 45.5. I think that was relatively appropriate. I make it 46, but the issue for me is they've moved it through a pretty key number of 44. There is enough big playability on both sides of the ball here. Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, and then, of course, the edge rushers potentially creating turnovers. Not necessarily going to lean towards the under when you think of strong edge rushing and turnovers. We're talking big plays on both sides of the football here. Love it as long as you're getting this one under the key number of 44. Let's go over 43.5.
I love that, and I love the shout out from Emory.
Yeah, right?
My favorite prop bet, which is Matt Stafford to throw an interception. It is free money, people. Okay, the Eagles are the only team with a perfect record. They'll head to Arizona to take on the 2-2 Cardinals. Eagles are the first team since the 2019 Patriots to not trail in a second half through 4 games. That said, the Cards have had some spectacular comebacks, scoring 23 unanswered against the Panthers. This line opened up at 4 and has since moved to 5, favoring Philly. Emory, can the Eagles cover against the comeback kids of the NFC?
Absolutely, and here's why. When you look at Arizona, last year I said Baltimore is the public school version of the NFL team. Arizona's the same way. Athletic on both sides of the ball, super talented, but undisciplined. At some point in the game, they're going to end up arguing amongst themselves or with the sideline. We saw that in Baltimore last week. We've seen it last week with Arizona. Too much inconsistency and disarray against a team that's playing their best football right now in Philadelphia. Lay these points comfortably with the Eagles.
Oh, I'm going to have to disagree on this one here. I like the Cardinals. I actually got them at 5.5. I'd hold out a little bit. I think it moves back to 5.5, potentially 6. Fascinating game here, though. I want to question how good the Eagles really are. I think that they have a fantastic quarterback. They've got a lot of weapons. I want to question what they've done so far, though. They played the Lions on the road, allowed 35 points, won by 3. They beat a Vikings team. We're not sure how good they really are. They had a very short travel down to the Commanders, beat them. We know the Commanders aren't a good team. Ended up winning and covering against Jacksonville here. But this is the first true road test. It's a cross-country flight, playing a team that is very comfortable and familiar playing from behind here. We know Kyler Murray is capable of completing a backdoor cover. I think that's key here because I think this is a bit of a look-ahead spot for the Eagles as they faced and host the Dallas Cowboys in primetime next week. With all the travel involved here, give me the Cardinals as an underdog here at plus 5.5, plus 5, potentially plus 6 on Sunday morning.
All right, Mike, you know we do love a good underdog there and split on their decision, but we can all agree it's unfamiliar territory for the Steelers to be struggling like they are. Mike Tomlin this week said rookie QB Kenny Pickett will be the starter to, quote, provide a spark. Now, what a first week going up against the Buffalo defense, and that's in Buffalo for your first start. This game on CBS at 1 Eastern. Buffalo favored by 2 touchdowns, total 47. Mike, are you eyeing a side or a total here?
I'm eyeing a total here, and I'm going under the 47. I'm a bit surprised at this number. I make it all the way down to 43.5. I thought we would at least see the market kind of settle at 45. The issue here with my play is, do the Bills score 40 on their own and bust this total? It is entirely possible. I don't hate it if you want to take a team total on the Steelers side, but this is not a recipe for success for Kenny Pickett at all. The offense should not be able to move the ball here in this situation. What I see happening here is a pretty significant lead for Buffalo to the point where they don't have to keep the foot on the pedal in terms of at least throwing deep down the field at all times, running a hurry-up offense in any scenario. We're going to at least see them huddle, milk the clock. This one's going to be a healthy sweat, but I love the under here at 47.
Take the Steelers and the points. Last week, we saw Buffalo struggle versus blitz. Now, here's the thing. It was a torrential downpour. Everyone would have struggled versus the blitz in a pouring rainstorm. But when you go back to their matchup last year, Buffalo struggled versus Pittsburgh's pressure out there in Orchard Park, and they're going to struggle in this one. Plus, the Steelers will be able to run the football, play safe offense, play good defense, keep this one close. This is not Buffalo Tech versus Pittsburgh State. This is Buffalo and Pittsburgh, 2 NFL teams, 14 points. Is hella disrespectful. So take the Steelers to the points. They won't beat Buffalo, but it won't be by 14 points.
Emory cannot take the disrespect.
No, absolutely not.
14 points is a lot of points to lay this early in the season, especially against a team as well coached as the Steelers are. There are always hidden gems early in the week, lines or totals that you know will shift closer to the game time as the books adjust to the market. Mike, what have you identified as a side to grab early this week as your best bet?
It's going to be the Miami Dolphins here, -3. Look, this Jets team is awful. Very, very fortunate to have 2 wins. Not a believer in Wilson personally. But I think the real story here is I'm not sure that the drop from Tua to Teddy is worth the 3.5 to 4 points. I only make it worth 2.5 in this spot, and I like the Dolphins. I think why we think Tua looks so great is because Tyreek Hill is in town playing opposite of Jalen Waddle, and it gives Mike McDaniel a lot more to work with in terms of game planning. I truly believe in Teddy in this kind of spot, in this particular situation here. I love the Dolphins. I played them at -3. I played an alt at -6.5, and I played another alt at -10.5.
I'm looking at this Detroit Lions New England Patriots ball game, and the Lions put more balls in the paint than a basketball team. So look at this number. 45.5 is a total. Go over, because they're going to score and they're going to give up a lot of points. So I feel like this is going to go over. It's going to be probably one of the more entertaining games of the weekend. So that's my best bet. Lions, Patriots going over 45.5. And I just saw the Patriots are wearing those throwback Patriot Pat uniforms, easily crush this over. So there's going to be a lot of points scored because it's going to be a fun and aesthetically pleasing game to watch.
I love that. You know, I was on the Early Edge podcast this morning on Sportsline, and I also gave out Miami -3. So it makes me feel better that Mike is on this pick as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and recap those picks. Mike and Emory both laying the points with the Ravens, despite the Bengals' triumph over Miami last week. The Battle of the Birds, they're on opposite sides. Mike likes the Cardinals, while Emory is going with the Eagles to cover the spread. And for their best bets, Mike says grab the early line for the Dolphins, while Emory is locking in the over for the Lions at Patriots.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.